Hey, this is Groove On. So you come here looking for some advice on trying to get rid of this squeaky noise that you might hear from your coolant fan when you've got the speed on. Right, ironically I've got birds singing. Anyway, quick example of the noise that the fan makes. I'm on its lowest setting, panels drop down, and as you can probably hear quite clearly, you can hear this screech. Now interestingly, if I put my thumb underneath, there's a little hole on the bottom, just there, put my thumb underneath it, it gets quieter. And if I give it a shake, hit, you can see that by disturbing it the sound disappears. Now evidently it must be coming from the bearing. I can't think it being anywhere else, and what I'm going to do is a little demonstration. I'm going to use some lubricant, of which I've got two types. I've got silicone, always good for squeaks, and I've got PTFE. I'm going to give the PTFE a go just because I've used silicone, I know it works well, but the PTFE's got a straw, so let's try and see. I'm going to spray it into this little hole. Oops. I'm going to spray it just in here, and if you look really closely, you might just there, you can see that there is the bearing. It's the bottom of the bearing spinning. So let's see what happens if I give it a spray. Try and get the camera in there at the same time. So here we are. Let's see. Aha! Silence. So it's most definitely the bearing. I think adding a little bit of this spray will probably keep it away for a few weeks, but yeah, PTFE seems to have done the trick. How long it'll last I don't know, but at least I haven't got to take the whole motor out. So I might even adapt and have a little straw that I can somehow just squirt in there without taking this panel off. But after all, it's only 3 screws to do. 1, 2, 3. It's not such a hardship. Take you a minute.
Let's move on, 'cause it's time to move on.
Okay, so start by moving the seat to its furthest back position. This gives you as much room to get down there, because you probably end up having to lay on your back to access these screws. Those 3, it's a T25 Torx. Right, so once you've got these 3 screws removed, pull down in the middle, you get a bit of flex here. Pay attention to the side here. You need to undo this by moving it slightly towards the middle without breaking it, just like that. Okay, now you've got this bit removed. This side here, it's just kind of hooked in. So it's this long panel here. Get the seat, drop it as low as you can so that it clears the bottom edge. Now, roughly about here, if you can get in the middle, if I can get my hand in. Okay, so here we've got the motor, a couple of screws to remove, and I'll do that just next. While we're here though, I'll just quickly show you these two. These two slide here, slide those away from you, like that. And there's one at the back, and again that slides this way. And then these allow you to get into the cabin filter. And sometimes you'll find that there's leaves and stuff that gather in there. So I've cleaned these out. I'm not going to take them out now, but it's a good idea to clean these out, get rid of all the debris, and it will stop any dust from contaminating the air fan. These holes at the back, that's your subwoofer in there. I'm going to do another video where I'm going to upgrade the subwoofer as well. It's always a good idea when you take this off, have a look and see if there is anything which is obvious signs of water. Now I'll put this back on again. In here you've got to watch that there's no moisture, because up above in the engine there's an air collection box, and that box can fill up, get debris in, and can overflow, and you end up water coming in here, and there's all sorts of electronics that you want to make sure is kept nice and dry. Now, first thing I need to do is disconnect the cable for the motor. Okay, so now that the plug's disconnected, just need to undo the 4 screws holding this up, and this whole motor will drop down. Fan screws are removed. Oh, there's one more there, there's 5 screws. Just hidden in there. You see it there? So just undo that and we should be good. There we go. There's one fan. Okay, it's like a hamster wheel, isn't it? So let's get this on the bench and we'll have a little look and see what we can do to make it stop squeaking. Good. So here we are. And you can see, look, this has been on the car for a number of years. There's a bit of rust there, surface rust, nothing to worry about, but the fact that there's a bit of corrosion there may mean that we've got a bit of a squeaky bearing. This is the resistor, by the way. I'm not going to touch that, all is good. If you do get problems with your car not coming on the right temperature, etc., there's a good chance you need to change the resistor. Now, when I've done this before, you can just about see as I rotate it inside there, you can just see inside where the windings are. Now the motor is, you have to undo, you have to take this cover off, and the motor bearing is just inside there. So to get these clips off, there's a little tab that you can see there. You actually have to, don't squeeze from this side, you need to go just between the cover here. You can see that there, that plastic there, you want to push that, you want to push this that way in, and it will pop. So don't try and get it from this side, you'll be there all day. You need to push in here and push in. Now it comes off, simple as that. To take this off fully, you need to get the resistor undone as well, and you need the T16 that you use on the 5 fixings that held it to the car. Be careful not to strip it. There's one. Oh, look at that, it snapped off. So I have to try and put some other screw back on there. That shouldn't be a problem. There we go, finally. There we are. Right, so there's the back of your resistor there. So if you do need to replace a resistor, you unplug it here, just buy a new one, put it in. For me, I probably have to drill this out here because you can see that that's corroded right off. That's where my torque head snapped it. So for me, the resistor's all good. The problem I have is in here. It looks like there's actually a little bit of copper grease on there. And when I spin it, I can spin it without, it spins nice and smooth, but I hear this high-pitched noise. So I'm going to double check, make sure in the car that there's nothing touching the fans as it spins, and put it all back together again, but I'll give it a good clean first. I'm just using a lightweight spray, WD-40 on this occasion, just to kind of get it as clean as I can. You could also use probably a contact cleaner as well initially to get rid of bits. And then this does two things, obviously it lubricates as well as cleaning. A good amount there, you can see that there's a little bit of rust coming off that. Yeah, it does seem to spin a bit freer now. Inside there, there's the commentator and the brush is rubbing against it. You can check the condition of it and see how much of a groove it is. It doesn't look too bad. But I'm going to put some graphite lubricant in there, and hopefully that will give it a little bit of extra length of time before I've got to remove this. As I said, I did this kind of before, probably not to this extent, and it lasted about 6 weeks. So let's see how long we get out of it this time. It saves buying a new one, eh? By the way, have a look inside the fins here. You can always use a paintbrush just to kind of get in there and make sure that there's no dirt at all that's left. It's best doing that, sorry, the first thing that you do, so that you don't brush any dirt into the hole. That's why I keep my finger on it over the motor. And also, when you're doing it, pay close attention to these things here. Just there, see that there? That's a balancing weight. So when this was made in the factory, this would have been biased at one side. There's another one down the bottom there. You can just about see it. They need to stay where they are. Don't take those off, because otherwise this will spin and start to vibrate. So give it a good clean, lubricate it as best you can. In this occasion I've used some graphite, like a dry lubricant. I've cleaned inside here with a lubricant and cleaner spray, something like WD-40, and put a little bit of graphite in there as well. So hopefully I'll get a little bit longer out of this and it won't squeak quite so early. Last time it lasted for about 5 weeks, so I'm hoping for maybe a good 2 or 3 months now. I'll monitor it and let's see how we go. So here we go. I've got this obviously going now. I've got a combination. I used a PTFE tape spray, lubricant, and silicone. No more squeaks, so we'll pop it back in and we'll see how long that lasts. Basically all I did was oil the end of the bearing, so thinking ahead next time I won't bother taking it out like this. I'll simply drop the panel, get the little tube spray and spray it straight onto the bearing. But we'll see how long we get. Let's do this.